The last and 24th Tirthankara of the Jains, Vartamana Mahavira, also spread his message during the time of Buddha, around 2500 years ago. He was a Kshatriya prince of the Lichachavis, a group that was part of the Vaji Sangha, about which we will see in the videos to come. At the age of 30, he left home and went to live in a forest. For 12 years, he led a hard and lonely life, at the end of which he attained enlightenment. He taught a simple doctrine. Men and women who wish to know the truth must leave their homes. They must also follow very strictly the rules of ahimsa, which means not hurting or killing living beings. All beings, said Mahavira, long to live, to all things life is dear. Ordinary people could understand the teachings of Mahavira and his followers because they used Prakrit. Prakrit was the language of ordinary people in that time. There were several forms of Prakrit used in different parts of the country and named after the regions in which they were used. For example, the Prakrit that was spoken by the people in the kingdom of Mahada was known as Mahavadi. Followers of Mahavira, who were known as Jainis, had to lead very simple lives, begging for food. They had to be absolutely honest and were especially asked not to steal. Also, they had to observe celibacy, and men had to give up everything, including their clothes. It was very difficult for most men and women to follow these strict rules. Nevertheless, thousands left their home to learn and teach this new way of life. Many more remained behind and supported those who became monks and nuns, providing them with food. Jainism was supported mainly by traders. Farmers who had to kill insects to protect their crops found it more difficult to follow the rules. Over hundreds of years, Jainism spread to different parts of North India and to Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka. The teachings of Mahavira and his followers were transmitted orally for several centuries, and they were written down in the form in which they are now presently available at the place called Vallabhai in Gujarat about 1500 years ago. The Sangha. Both the Mahavira and the Buddha felt that only those who left their homes could gain true knowledge. They arranged for them to stay together in the Sangha, an association of those who left their homes. The rules made for the Buddhist Sangha were written down in a book called the Vinaya Pitaka. From this, we know that there were separate branches for men and women. All men could join the Sangha. However, children had to take the permission of their parents, and slaves that of their masters. Those who worked for the kings had to take his permission, and the debtors that of creditors. Women had to take their husband's permission. Men and women who joined the Sangha led simple lives. They meditated for most of the time and went to cities and villages to beg for food during fixed hours. That is why they were known as bhikkhus, the Prakriti word for renouncer or beggar, and bhikkhunis for the female term. They taught others and helped one another. They also held meetings to settle any quarrels that took place within the Sangha. Those who joined the Sangha included Brahmins, Kshatriyas, merchants, laborers, barbers, courtesans, and slaves. Many of them wrote down the teachings of the Buddha. Some of them also composed beautiful poems describing their lives in the Sangha. Monasteries. To begin with, both Jaina and Buddhist monks went from place to place throughout the year teaching people. The only time they stayed in one place was during the rainy seasons, when it was very difficult to travel. Then their supporters built temporary shelters for them in gardens, or they lived in natural caves in hilly areas. As time went on, many supporters of the monks and nuns and they themselves felt the need for more permanent shelters, and so monasteries were built. These were known as viharas. The earliest vihara was made of wood and then of brick. Some were even in caves that were dug out in hills, especially in the western parts of India. Very often, the land on which the vihara was built was donated by a rich merchant or a landowner or the king. The local people came with gifts of food, clothing, and medicine for the monks and nuns. In return, they taught the people over the centuries. Buddhism spread to many parts of the subcontinent and beyond.